recording the webinar. The webinar will be posted on our website after the session, and on our training and webinars on our front page, you'll be able to see the link, and you'll also get an email reminder after the presentation tomorrow, just reminding people about where the actual site is to get access that information. So just, I also wanted just to acknowledge our the interpretive service that's providing the ASL interpreting language today, as well as support from the Durham Deaf Services. Maggie Doherty Gilbert has been very instrumental, as well as promoting this webinar also across Ontario to community services serving the deaf and hard of hearing in our communities. So I appreciate both of their supports to this. And we will be hosting our future webinars with ASL interpretive services as well. So just to give you a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today. So we have done a couple webinars in the past around frauds and scams related to COVID. Today we are actually speaking more specifically around investment frauds and scams, because it did come up previously. We wanted to provide more content or more depth around those frauds and scams that people are unfortunately experiencing. We'll be talking about the short and long-term impacts on your personal finances, strategies that you can do to protect your financial health, how you can make informed decisions. There's so much going on in our marketplace right now. How do you make those informed decisions? Are they good decisions? And how do we prepare for the future? And lastly, the presenters will be giving you prevention tips. Now, they will be incorporated during the presentation. They won't be just left to the end. So giving you some advice around how to protect yourself for that. For those who are first joining us who aren't familiar with Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario, we are a nonprofit organization, and our mandate really is to make sure that seniors in our community are free from abuse, have a strong voice, feel safe, and are respected. We work with our community partners to deliver education and training, such as today. We partner with many community organizations and provincial partners to host these educational ventures. Also with our community agencies and elder abuse networks at the community level across Ontario to increase our capacity to respond to your needs as older adults who may be experiencing abuse or may be at risk or concerned about someone that you might know. Then we also are funded through the Ministry of Seniors and Accessibility. So we were funded back in 2003 to implement Ontario's strategy to combat elder abuse. And with that strategy, we have three main priorities where we coordinate services, do training, and public education and awareness. And very short, you'll be getting more information about our upcoming World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, which is our 15th celebration year that we will be doing more virtual activities this year to promote the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speakers. The first speaker is Chris Allam. So Chris partners with various groups and organizations to deliver investor education and fraud prevention workshops. Prior to joining OSC, she worked in Toronto Stock Exchange. She has expertise in adult learning, curriculum development, community outreach, and developing relationship management. And I've had the pleasure of working with Chris on numerous occasions, so I'm pleased that she's able to join us again today. And also Alistair Field. So Alistair has a variety of background in terms of his expertise and to provide to us today. He's served as a commissioner for 12 years as the manager in the enforcement branch. He's previously worked for the Toronto Police Services for 22 years in a variety of uniform and investigative roles. And 10 years of those working with the police was in fraud investigation. So he has a lot of expertise around that fraud and investigation and prevention that offer us today in our presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to start the presentation. I do apologize. I will be advancing the slides. So if you hear us say advanced slides, we do apologize in advance. Just in terms of keeping consistency, that's how we will progress for our webinars. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box as we go through, and I'll try to answer any of the chat box questions that came up so far. So Chris?
Thank you, Rianne, and hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for the webinar today. As Rianne mentioned, I'm going to talk to you about protecting your financial health. But before I get into that part of the presentation, I would like to talk a little bit about the OSC, what we do, and why we're doing what we do. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Ontario Securities Commission, we're the provincial regulator for the securities industry. We have three functions. We make policies and rules, we serve as the board of directors, and we also adjudicate, we enforce our rules. A key part of our mandate at the OSC is to provide protection to investors. One of the best ways that you can do that is to provide people with good information so that they can make good financial decisions for themselves. So my role, I work in the investor office of the OSC, is to provide community outreach. I deliver investor education seminars. At the investor office, we also have a policy function where we provide oversight of OPSI. It's the Ombudsman for Banking Services and Investments. If you have issues with banking and your investments. And we also provide leadership in the area of behavioral insights, where we do a lot of research to try and understand what are some of those barriers that are preventing Canadians from making good financial decisions, so that we can take that information and then apply it to any of our programs and policies going forward. Now, one of the things that we are also aware of when we do our outreach is that many people are concerned about being defrauded. And certainly today we're seeing a lot more with respect to frauds in the realm of COVID-19. So that said, I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Alistair Field, who's going to talk to you about, oh, I have one more slide. You know, I just keep on going and forget what I had set. Oh, so one of the things is, as a regulator, we also want to ensure that people have confidence in the capital market system. And you know what, it's really important that we have all types of markets that are open and functional today to ensure that the efforts of the real economy in supporting the COVID-19 crisis can take place. We want to ensure that businesses have access to capital markets, and we also want to ensure that investors have access to their savings and investments. Now, I will turn it over to Alistair to talk to you about fraud prevention.
Hello, everybody. It's Alistair. Thank you very much for letting us come and speak to you. And this is really important. We love to come out and talk to the people of Ontario about these types of subjects because they are very important. So let's jump right in. What's the deal with fraud? How prevalent is it in our society today? And the latest statistics we have is that 1 in 25 Canadians say they're the victim of an investment fraud, and 1 in 5 Canadians has been given the opportunity to become a victim. Now, the problem with that number is we figured only 1 in 3 Canadians that have been approached are actually reporting it. This is an underreported crime. There's a certain stigma that people feel if they are a victim of a financial crime. And this crime just doesn't affect people in their pocketbooks. And I've seen devastating losses in people's lives, but it also affects other aspects of our lives. It can affect your medical condition. You could become sick because of worry and anxiety. It can cause some psychological issues as people worry about what's happened to them. And it can also cause some problems within your relationships. If one's about the investment and it goes bad, that creates some problems. As well, if you bring other people into the investment, say friends or family, and it goes bad, then that can affect those relationships as well. So it's just not the loss of money, it could be the loss of physical health, mental health, and it can cause some serious stress within relationships. Very recently, next slide please, we ourselves and all our other securities commissions across the country, we all work together within a structure called the Canadian Securities Administrators. And recently, because of COVID-19, COVID-19. There's been a bunch of scams going on out there, and we'll talk about a few of them as we go along. But just to let you know, early on in March, we put out a press release just advising people to be very careful of companies claiming to have any products or services regarding prevention, detection, or cures for COVID-19. So early on, we came out, we could see some activity, and that activity continues, people trying to, what we see as criminals taking advantage of whatever's going on. They're very thematic, and a lot of them are polycriminals. So if they see an opening to try to get your money, they will jump up. And also, next slide, please. We're partners with the RCMP in many types of issues, and we put out a joint press release with the OSC and the RCMP talking about COVID-19 scams. And this has been picked up by other people as well. Very important that people know that some of the criminals out there are taking advantage of this situation. And we just want to make sure everybody knows that these things are going on. So what are some of the COVID-19 related frauds going on right now? We're seeing some work from home scams where people are being encouraged to work from home without a license or any experience as a securities or derivatives trader. We're going to talk later on about some of the red flags to look for, but that's one of the things that we're seeing. Also, some of the criminal element are popping up and using the anxiety that this time has created in people's lives to send you an email or a text saying that perhaps your bank account or your investments, there's a problem, and they're asking you to click links or talk to them and give them personal information, which they're then going to use to try to do identity theft. As well, pump and dump scam, claiming that they have a cure or something to help the COVID-19 situation, and that it's early on, you should jump in with your money, and it's going to bring great returns, and it's going to help society. We're seeing a fair number of those as well. Fake government messages. The government has rushed in all sorts of measures to help Canadians affected by COVID-19. And we're seeing some social media, texts, emails where people are claiming to be able to assist you with this. They say they're the government. They are in fact not the government. So just be careful when you're communicating with government agencies how that's going on. So what is a pump and dump scheme? So quite often we'll get fraudsters. They will take a off-the-shelf company, or they will make one up, and then they will go out and put out false information by unsolicited phone calls or emails. They often use global events to get people's interest, and they sell you this stock. And the stock is really worth nothing because they're not really in that business, and it's the whole thing's phony. And as you put the money in, the prices rise, and they're getting all the money. And at the end of the day, you have a share that is worth nothing in a company that's worth nothing. So that's the pump and dump. It's been around a long time, as long as the stock market's kind of been around. So that's something to watch out for. If it really seems too good to be true, it probably is. Now we're going to show a couple of short videos, and just let you know there's no audio. There's going to be some closed caption for these two videos. The first one's on pump and dump, and then there's another one on financial products. So please sit back and enjoy a couple quick videos that we've prepared for you. Thank you very much for those videos. Just to let you know, on our website, we'll talk about this a little later on. There's all sorts of resources like that that you can use and utilize for yourself and for groups and things like that. Let's talk about a couple different types of frauds. The first one is an affinity fraud. So what is an affinity group? It's a group of people that share something in common. It could be a civic service group, it could be a cultural group, a language group, those types of things. And fraudsters really like to hit affinity groups. And this is how it works. They're either an outsider that gains the trust of the group, or there's somebody from within the group that gains the trust of the group. And they quite often will develop a relationship with the leadership of the group. And then what they do is then they offer the group an opportunity, and they use the dynamics of the group, things like trust, camaraderie, mutual support, all those wonderful things that you find in an affinity group. And they use that against the group. And the group will see the leadership participating in this. And it's kind of an endorsement of what's going on. So at the end of the day, when these things go bad, but also we often see the group then break up, or people become disenfranchised with each other or with the leadership. And we see this quite often, especially in Southwestern Ontario, within church groups, because there's another level of connection. There are also a bunch of other different types of frauds out there that I'll make a quick mention of. The first one being Ponzi. I think everybody's heard of that, where there's a promise of high returns and new money is used to pay people earlier on in the fund. And quite often there is no investment whatsoever. And the Ponzi artist ends up taking the money. There are all sorts of offshore types of investment things. Pension scams where they promote an RSP loan to get at your locked funds. And there's also Forex, foreign currency exchange type investments have been around since I've been involved in this business, and that's quite prevalent as well. The next one is the double dip, I believe. What the double dip is, you might know it as an advance fee scheme. So here's how it works in you've been victimized by a fraudster, and your name's on a list. They have a list of investors whom they have targeted. And then what they do is they sell that list to another fraudster. And that fraudster phones you and says, listen, we're going to get some people together, and we're going to go after the person that ripped you off. And so everybody's going to kick in $500 perhaps, and we're going to hire a lawyer to get after them. And maybe you get 30 or 40 cents on the dollar back, which is helpful if you haven't told your spouse or you brought family or friends in, if you can get some of their money back. And the fraudsters go on that, use that psychology against you to try to get you to put up some money. And the reality is they're not helping you. So the initial fraudster ripped you off, and now the double dip, this person supposedly helping you to get that original investment back, they've now ripped you off. So that's twice. And sometimes we're also seeing kind of a double dip in that you've made an investment, and the fraudster's saying, hey, listen, you've made a lot of money, but you need to invest another $10,000 to get at that money. And it could be for things like, well, you have to pay taxes, or there's a service fee for doing it. It's another double dip. And I've seen a few of those coming across my desk recently. And there's a stat out there, and it's kind of a disturbing stat, but 3 out of 10 fraud victims are defrauded more than once. So what are some of the warning signs of fraud and that you should be looking out for? So the first one is just sales tactics. We've all seen these types of things in business, and perhaps we've been in business and used them, but quite often it goes like this. Listen, this is a great opportunity. There's no risk, and you're going to make $1 zillion, but you have to get it done by 2 o'clock today. Listen, There's no deal that has to be done by 2 o'clock today. There's only one prescription for dealing with these types of high pressure sales tactics, and that's time. Give yourself the time to deal with these things, to do the research, to make some inquiries about these people. Do not jump in really, really quickly. Now, I don't know about any of you, but I get all sorts of unsolicited phone calls and emails and texts from people that I don't know. And I currently have 2 cell phones, so I get quite a bit of these things. And I'm sure all of you have experienced the frustration of these. There's only one way to deal with these things, and I'm giving you permission to be un-Canadian, to be rude. Hang up the phone, delete the email, delete the text. Even if they come to your front door, just shut the door on these people. They will eventually go away. And the thing is, if you start talking to these people and going back and forth, clicking on links, who knows where it's going to lead to. And I've heard, we've talked to a lot of seniors groups, and I've heard people going, listen, I've got a lot of free time, so I like to string them along. I'll tell you right now, we are such nice people. We just leak personal information. We can't help it. We're all good people. So please hang up the phone, delete that email, delete the text, close the door on people. Sometimes you just have to be rude. Now, also, quite often fraudsters use free incentives to get your attention and maybe get you on a boat for 2 hours or in some meeting for 3 hours or whatever it is. The criminal team actually asked us, we have a criminal team at the OSC, and they asked us to put this in our presentation because a lot of the criminal frauds they're seeing right now all started out with junkets, free incentives to get you in a room and to put the pressure on you. So please beware. If you're getting something free, there's going to be something expected at the end of the day. One of the other warning signs is the promise of a high return for low risk. All you have to do is look at the interest that you're getting in your savings account to know that this is a low interest rate environment. If somebody's saying that there's a high return with low or no risk, that's not what's going on these days. Now, if I sit down with somebody that's offering me an opportunity and at the end of our discussion, they're encouraging me to recruit, they're asking if there's any friends or family that would be interested in this scenario, you gotta wonder, is this something that was meant to meet my financial needs? Or is this some multi-level marketing thing that I'm being dragged into? That's another red flag that perhaps I should slow down, ask some questions, and do a little bit of homework. Right now, the Ontario Securities Act is the size of the Toronto phone book. It's a huge document. We employ hundreds of lawyers to help us create, maintain, and enforce this act. The bottom line is this. If you're dealing with somebody that's selling securities, somewhere along the line, somebody is registered to sell you that product. And we're gonna have a slide up in a few minutes, not quite yet, that where you can go and check to see if somebody's registered. Registration is very, very important. Now, but that they shouldn't lie. I had a number of cases actually, where they were leveraged investments. So you had to borrow money to make the investment. And this one case, there's this one lady, a very nice lady, and I was looking through her investment contract and her loan application. It was all one document. And when I got to the asset section of the application, I became very concerned. And so I had her in for an interview, very nice lady. And when I worked my way through the document, asking her some questions. And when I got to the asset section, I got to the part that I was concerned. And what it was this. It said that she owned a house in a very nice area of Toronto, and that the value of the house was $300,000. So to me, like, what half of the garage is that $300,000 worth? And so I asked her the question. She said, listen, the people that I was dealing with, that I was getting this opportunity from, they told me to lie and say that I owned the house rather than rent it so that I could borrow more money. Now, Section 362 of the Criminal Code, obtain credit by false pretenses. The people that were perpetrating this fraud were encouraging the victims to themselves commit a criminal offense. So this isn't the crew you want to deal with. Now, another theme that is very popular with Canadians is saving money on their taxes. And the fraudsters know this. They know this is a theme that really resonates with Canadians. And so quite often in their fraudulent offerings, they will have a paragraph or a line suggesting that this product will help people's income tax situation. We all know we do not want to get in trouble with the CRA. They will always get their money. They will get interest and probably a nice penalty. So make sure that anything that comes to you with an income tax aspect to it, you go and show it to your accountant or whoever does your taxes or whatever to make sure that this is a proper product. Another warning sign is that somebody comes up to you and goes, "Psst, buy ABC Limited because it's going public next week and you are going to make a lot of money." Now, we have whole branches in our commission that deals with initial offerings. When a company gets listed on an exchange, it's a very regulated event and there shouldn't be anybody going around whispering things. So it makes you ask the question, why are they offering this to me? Information, which is illegal under our act, or is this just a ripoff? Those are the questions you have to ask. So we've talked about a bunch of warning signs here, red flags. And if you start seeing these in some of the conversations you're having regarding people offering you investments, you need to be very, very careful. So just some guidelines here to protect your money. Be skeptical, especially regarding unsolicited opportunities. Online or from acquaintances, just be very, very careful. Always get a second opinion. If you're going to invest, make sure the person you're dealing with is registered. They're a lawyer or an accountant. Take the time you need. It is the best prescription to investment fraud is that you take the time to make sure that the opportunity is legitimate. You never have to invest on the spot. You have the time. And if people say otherwise, that's a no-go. And always do your homework. Before you make any investment, understand how it works, the risks, and any fees. And one of the things that's great about the commission is that we like to talk to members of the public. And if you have any questions, we have a contact center. They're open between 8:30 and 5 p.m. And the number, and you're going to see it a number of times on the screen here, is 1-877-785-1555. Now, background checks. It's so important to check out to make sure that the person you're working with or you're contemplating working with is registered. And registered means that the person has gone through some scrutiny, they're properly qualified and educated and competent to do a certain job. Now, there's a website that we have. It's going to pop up a few times here during our presentation. It's checkbeforeyouinvest.ca. That's checkbeforeyouinvest.ca. That's us, and it's linked into the National Registration Database, so it can look at anybody registered in Canada. So you can plug my name in there, Alistair Field, and you will find out I am not registered. And that's because I'm not in the business. I'm a government employee. My job is to give you information so that you can make better decisions and stay out of trouble. So if you're working with somebody or you're contemplating working with somebody, very, very important to check them out. And it's checkbeforeyouinvest.ca, or you can use that telephone 785-1555, and the people on the phone will be more than happy to check out the person and give you some information about them. And what's great about checkbeforeyouinvest.ca is there's a bunch of other things on there as well. There's some alerts. You can find out if the person you're working with or contemplating working with is on the naughty list, if they've had a disciplinary issue. It's just a great place to get some confidence in who you're going to be dealing with. So very, very important to make sure you know who you're dealing with. Now, what can you do for us? What can we do together? If you if you have some information, if you're worried about something, if you know something's going on, if you've been a victim, give us a call. You can call or contact again 1-877-785-1555 and give us a call, or you can email us if you want to do that. We would love to hear you because, I've been in enforcement my entire life here and in the police. The way that we catch people and the way that we solve problems is together. We need you to participate, to give us the information so we can do our jobs. I work with some of the smartest people around. We work in integrated teams in enforcement, but sometimes what we need is information, and you might have that information. Say you were approached with something, but because of this talk or because of what you know already, you pass on the opportunity. We'd still like to hear from you, because that information could assist us in stopping your neighbor, a friend, or some random stranger from walking into that opportunity and into a world of hurt. So please give us a call, give your local police a call, or the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, because we do this together. We do this with you and you do this with us, and that's how we deal with these types of issues. So I'm going to throw you back to Christine, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Alistair. Well, Alistair's now shared some of the more common types of frauds that are out there, and certainly what is happening with respect to COVID-19 and how these fraudsters are taking advantage. And now you have some tips on how to protect yourself. So this part of the presentation, I'm going to talk about what are some of the things that you can do to ensure your financial health. So right now, if we look at our finances, some people are probably not working as much. You're looking at your investments and you're a little bit concerned. You may be a little bit more stressed. So, current financial situation. What's your income like? What are some of those changes? Has any of that changed? What are your expenses like? Has that changed? Maybe you need to reprioritize your spending and look at your expenses just to see, okay, you know what? I'm not bringing in as much as I normally would, so what can I do? Investigate those government supports. There are lots of support programs that are available out there. Lots of municipalities are also working to ensure that they can help people with respect to paying those utility bills, those property taxes, and even your suppliers, your creditors. You can contact them, have a discussion with them, because people are very understanding and they're willing to work with you to ensure that you can meet your bills. What I will say is, if you had to do anything with respect to debt deferral, bill deferral, know what it is that you're going to ask for. If we can go back to the slide before, the next, yeah. Know what it is that you're going to ask before you contact your creditor, so that you have a plan and can come to a good term. And then keep track and record those discussions, those documents, and also check to see your credit rating. And the big thing is, don't forget to plan for after this crisis, for after this period, because you're doing things right now in the short term to ensure that your needs are met, you can meet your financial situation. We are going to get through this, so you want to ensure that you are planning and have a plan for after this situation. If you're tapping into emergency funds right now, then you're going to say, you know what, I need to ensure that I start to build that fund back when we're past this plan. You're going to say to yourself, okay, I need to also consider that I may have additional debt just because I had to defer some of these debt payments, and what I've incurred now are, more interest charges. So you want to ensure that you have a plan for now and a plan for going forward. The other thing is, if you work with a financial representative, they can help you. So you know that with your financial representative, when you worked with them, you sat down with them, you talked about your goals, your financial situation, they made suitable investment recommendations for you, and then you know they discussed payment. So that's all great, you know that. So now, this person that's been helping you, they're still there to help you. One of the things we always say is, when you make when your representative makes investment recommendations, you should be asking questions before you understand what you're investing in. If we can go to the next slide, please. So understand what you're investing in. When they send you statements, look at your statements, review any confirmation slips, communicate with your advisor. During this time, you have investments and you're concerned, this is the best time for you to reach out and have that discussion with your advisor. They'll review your investment performance, their portfolio. They'll also look at your financial situation. They can make recommendations, help you determine if you need any changes. And we also know that many people right now, particularly during this time, are even looking to start working with a financial advisor. So there are lots of things that they can do to help you. So really, if you have an advisor, they can certainly help you review your portfolio and help you put some things in perspective and make some good suggestions for you. So now what's happening with our investments? We know that if we look at the stock market going up and down, now one of the things is we're all concerned because you know what? Our savings account are taking a hit, our investments are taking a hit. But really think about it. In regular times, were you checking your portfolio frequently? So what we're saying is stay on track with your investment plan. Don't check your portfolio, don't check your investments every day. You weren't doing that before this crisis. You don't need to do it every day. Go back to regular checking, okay? So you want to regularly check. We're not saying don't check, but don't do it every day. Because what it's doing is you're adding more stress to yourself. Now, there are people who say, you know what? Market's going down, might be a good time to buy. So we buy low and we sell high. It is very difficult to know when to buy at the lowest price and when to sell at the highest price. Really now is probably not the time that you want to consider doing something like this. Actually, I don't think there's any time where you want to try and time the market. Because if we could all figure out how to do this, we would all probably be sitting on a lovely island somewhere, having a nice drink and enjoying the great sunshine. So now is not the time to think about timing the market. And also, don't let fear govern your behavior. There are people who panic and they decide that they want to sell their investment to lock in their losses. Okay, you had a plan. If you invested, you had a plan. Stick to your plan. Review your plan. Discuss your plan with an advisor if you think you're off track. But share, control what you're doing. Take the time so that you're making a good informed decision for yourself. Because you want to keep on track with your long-term investment plan. This is a plan you set in place to help you meet those goals that you have outlined. So one of the things that we know people are also wondering about is, you know, a lot of businesses have closed, a lot are experiencing financial difficulties, and people are saying, you know what? So are my investments protected? Yes. If you have investment account, it is protected. If your investment account is with a member firm of the Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, your investments are protected under the Canadian Investor Protection Fund. If your account is with the Mutual Fund Dealers Association of Canada member, you are protected under the MFDA Investor Protection Fund. And if you have savings and deposits and GICs, these are all through banks and credit unions, as long as they are a CDIC member, that's Canada Deposit Insurance Corporation member, your accounts are insured. Now, coverage limit varies by organization. So if you're concerned, reach out to your organization, reach out to your investment firm, reach out to your bank. You can even see, usually on their website, they will say that they are a member of Canadian Investor Protection Fund, or maybe they're a member of the Canadian Deposit Insurance Corporation. So it will be listed on their website. You can also go on like the MFDA Investor Protection Fund website, and they will tell you who their members are. So you can always check to see if your investment accounts are protected, okay, so that your money is safe. Now, what do you do if you think you have a problem or a complaint at this time and you think, oh my gosh, you know what do I do? You're concerned about your investments and everything. We always say, if you have a problem, you have a concern, go back and talk to your financial representative and your manager. And maybe having that discussion is all you need, and you will come to a resolution. If that doesn't work for you, then put your problem, your complaint in writing, and then send it to the firm. Firms will have to get back to you. They will investigate and get back to you with their findings. If that doesn't work, you have other options. You can contact the Ombudsman for Banking Service and Investments. They will provide you with a free and independent review of your complaint, or you can contact the Investor Protection to investors who felt that they have been harmed. All else fails, you're thinking, you know, I attended this webinar, OSC was giving us so much information, I can't quite remember who to contact, what the steps are. You can always call us, contact our contact center. We have a great team. They'll be more than happy to help you through the various steps or direct you to the right organization. So our contact center number is 1-877-785-1555, okay? So lots of information there. So now what I want to do is just take a few minutes and direct you to additional resources that are available to help you. So one of the things Alistair mentioned is our website. The USC has a consumer site. It's called GetSmarterAboutMoney.ca. And basically, we have wonderful information on this site. And the one page I'm going to direct you to right now, because it's something many people are concerned about, is our COVID-19 I'm Your Money Hub. Lots of information on this page. So one of the sections on this site is important financial dates and information. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that on this particular page, we have things like the CERB, the Canada Emergency Benefit, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, the supports that are available for seniors, information about RIF withdrawals, changes in tax filing deadlines. All this information is there. This particular page is updated on a regular basis. So as we have new information, we are continually posting information on this particular page on the website. On another section of the website, we are finding that a lot of people are interested in learning about wills and estate planning. So on the hub, if you look on the wills and estate planning, we have lots of information on there. What is an estate plan? Why would you need it? You know what? This is to help you identify who you want to give your assets to. It also lays out ways to help you manage your finances in the event that you're not able to. We have, you know, page on preparing for the unexpected, right? So what can you do? You have to create an information package, communicate your plans, ensure that the person you've designated as the person who can help you manage your finances in the event that you're not able to has all that information. We have something called a personal information inventory form, and that's available on the website on GetSmarterAboutMoney.ca. When this form first came out, I think we did it, I think it was last year, July and I were on the road, and I still remember we were, I think, in Leamington or Chatham, somewhere out there, and it just announced that this new form was available. And we're giving this presentation and I'm talking about the website. And this lady pops up in the audience and puts her hand up and says, I just want to share with the group that I was on their website and this is a wonderful form and I hope that Christine brought some form so that you can have access to it. So we know that people are finding it very helpful. And we have lots more information on wills, powers of attorney. What other type of information do we have? We have information on investment products. We have worksheets. We have calculators. You know, I talk about saving for an emergency fund. We have an emergency fund calculator, right? Cash flow calculator. You know, planning for your future. So we have so much information on this website. You don't need to spend hours going through it. If you know that you're looking for information on a particular thing, you can just go in, get that information, and then continually go back and visit and get the information as you need it. I will tell you that I use our website. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I need to learn about this. I better go on and learn about it. So it is written in what I would say plain language. We try and not use a lot of jargon and financial terminology because we want everyone to have access to the information and be able to understand it. So another resource that is out there for you is investingintroduction.ca. And this is a microsite and it is available in 22 languages. We know that there are a lot of people whose first language is not English and they are certainly more comfortable in getting information in their native language. So you can certainly go on Investing Introduction. We have information on frauds and scams. We have information for those who are new to Canada. We also have a growing older in Canada section where we talk about retirement, retirement savings, things like financial abuse. So all this information is available on the website to help you, you know, to give you information so that as you need it, you can quickly go and get that information. Now, I know I have given you a lot. And you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, how am I going to remember all of this? So one of the best ways to get new information from us is to sign up for our e-newsletter. We have an e-newsletter, Investor News, and you can sign up on our website. Go to getsmarteraboutmoney.ca. You can sign up from the homepage. And this gives you timely topics. So as we have this information is made available in our e-newsletter, and we will then send it out to you. You can also follow us on Facebook at @smarter_money, at Get Smarter About Money, or on Twitter at @smarter_money, or on our YouTube channel where we have some of those fraud videos that Alistair had also pointed out. So Get Smarter About Money on YouTube. So we have those fraud videos. They're also all available on our website. We have so much information for you that we could probably spend a whole day telling you what's available. Now, I know we've spoken a lot, so I wanted to ensure that we left time to answer some of your questions, and hopefully you have some good questions for us that we can answer for you. Thank you.
Thank you both, Chris and Alistair. That was very informative. Lots of information covered there around the types of frauds that are happening and how we can protect ourselves, and looking at our own investments and not sort of checking things on a regular basis and not making reactions and without sort of thinking things clearly. So I appreciate all your feedback. Just wanted to reiterate some of the contact information that was talked about today. I know Alistair talked about the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre as an option to report. You can also call your local police or RCMP depending on where jurisdiction that you are residing in. And if you know something that's going on and you want to report anonymously, people can also call Senior Crime Stoppers as an option for reporting. But if it is something that's concerning yourself, probably calling the Ontario Securities Commission or the Anti-Fraud Centre probably would be very, very helpful in terms of trying to prevent this, not only from yourself, but others who may also be targets in our community. Again, these are just some websites that you can find more information about frauds and scams. They have numerous documents that you can download, little fact sheets as well, and some statistics on current trends as well. I know the Better Business Bureau always once a year puts the top 10 frauds and scams that are out in across Canada that are posted. So again, these can be very helpful resources and information centers. If you're looking for more information specifically around elder abuse or just seniors at risk, the Canadian Network for the Prevention of Elder Abuse posts information, also hosts webinars. The National Initiative for Care of the Elderly, internationally, the International Federation on Aging has numerous resources around seniors' rights and ageism, and numerous topics that they address. And then in Canada, we also have the Stop Family Violence, or Canada, the Government of Canada site also has information on seniors and abuse issues. You can contact us. Again, we also have Facebook, Twitter, and social media that people can connect with. Those are here listed, and this is the contact information for the Canadian Securities Commission. The one thing that I did want to mention, I know that Chris had talked about us doing some, or them doing providing information, on powers of attorney and wills. We actually are hosting another webinar next week around the issues of powers of attorney and the abuse of powers of attorney, what to think about when you are appointing someone as a power of attorney. Again, thinking around COVID, there has been some temporary changes in legislation around being able to draft and get a power of attorney validified. So you can learn about that. Again, the webinar will be free. It will be next Wednesday at the same time frame. So I am going to open up to questions. So I will start with the Q&A box, and then I'll move over to the question box because I know there was a few there. So I'm not sure who wants to answer these. I'll open it up to both Chris and Alistair. Just so everybody knows, the slide deck will be posted, as I mentioned earlier, on our website. One person asked about, what are other provinces doing? Are they doing presentations or outreach similar to the Ontario Securities Commission, or is there other similar kind of organizations across provinces that would be equivalent to OSC?
I think that would be a question for Chris.
I'm just trying to think of whether or not I had seen anything. I know that other commissions, they do a lot of outreach, and to be honest, I really don't know. Now, if you are in another province, I would suggest that you contact them and see if they have things, because we do. Certainly, we partner with EAPO, and we are doing this. So likely they're probably doing similar things. We also do telephone town halls. So there are different ways that we are providing outreach. So I am sure other securities commissions are doing similar things. It's just that I can't tell you who they are and exactly what it is that they're doing.
Okay. So someone asked a question, if they do get an email around a scam, can they forward those to the Ontario Securities Commission, or how should they deal with that?
Yeah, it's Alistair. They certainly can. One of the contact methods is our email, inquiries at the osc.gov.on.ca. You can just flip them to us. That would be great, or the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center, but certainly you can send them to us if it's securities related or you're kind of not sure, and our contact center would be happy to read over those.
So there was a question around reverse mortgages. So reverse mortgages are typically sold as a way for seniors to continue to enjoy their life by taking equity out of their homes. There is little marketing about enough equity in your home when you need it due to financial emergencies, or when you need the funds to pay for a long-term caregiving support or to go into a retirement home or nursing home. Do you see any concerns about people getting into trouble due to taking out reverse mortgages as a way of avoiding living within one's own means?
So let me chime in first, and then if Alistair has anything, he can certainly add to it. What I will say to people is, everyone's circumstance is different, and reverse mortgage is an option that might be more suitable for some people than others. What we at the OSC will say to you is, before anyone takes out a reverse mortgage, really understand how it works, ask questions, and get the information that you need so you can make a more informed decision for yourself. If you were to go on our website, we have a whole section on reverse mortgages where we explain what are the benefits and also what are the disadvantages. So then that if you're wanting to decide whether or not that is something for you, at least you go in saying, okay, I'm okay with the benefits, I understand what the disadvantages are, and then you can decide if that situation is good for you.
Thank you. So there's also a question, there's many individuals and companies stating that, that they offer mortgages and finances or financing. Can these individuals be checked out as valid on the sites that you suggested?
So I believe that mortgage brokers are registered through FSRA, and that is the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, FSRAO.ca. I always have a problem saying that whole name, but they are regulated by FSRA. So you can always go on FSRA's website and check them out.
Yeah, it's Alistair. Mortgage brokers have to be registered, and you can go into the FSRA website to see if somebody's registered. They're our sister organization, and we work very closely with them. Really important if you're going to make a big financial decision like that, that you check out to make sure that these people are registered and aren't taking you for a ride.
Can I ask Chris or Alistair just to type in that website into the chat box so people can write that, see that, and maybe take note of it if you have it handy. Another question was CDIC only covers up to $100,000. While it is unlikely that an organization such as TD is likely to go under, it is too risky now to have more than $100,000 in a smaller bank account that is highly reliant on mortgage or reverse mortgages such as home equity bank. Since people are chasing interest rates, is the risk of smaller banks' net worth the higher rate of interest if you have more than 100,000 to invest?
Wow. Alistair?
That's a really loaded question. There's a lot of things going on in there. Always important that you know how much money you have in institutions, what the rules are. It's important that you actually read up on CDS. I'm losing my acronyms because we have too many. It's important to understand what the rules are, what's included and what isn't. I don't think a Canadian bank has gone out of business like forever, but certainly you should always be an informed consumer to understand what is covered by insurance, by deposit insurance, and what isn't, and what is used to come up with that total. So and people are a little anxious. Questions, by the way, this is what everybody's thinking, but they don't always say, so thank you for the question. It's just really important that you take the steps to make sure you understand what the rules are, what's covered, what isn't, and then make a sober decision if you think that you need to do something else. The reality is no banks have failed in a very, very long time. The banks are heavily regulated by different regulatory agencies, and we all cooperate. So I think knowledge is the thing. A little bit of research and knowledge will probably help you in this situation.
And there's just another comment just around, while we make people nervous to look at their investments too often, how many people lose money to identity fraud because they don't constantly balance their bank books and keep track of their Visa slips to tick off against their monthly credit card statements. So I think it's more of we're not saying just in your investments, but I think it is important from work I've done, is important to check those Visa statements just in case someone isn't, doing some fraudulent activity or that you didn't make that particular purchase. I think that may be just a bit different than your investment statement. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, Chris or Alistair?
Yeah, it's Alistair. We don't want people to make huge financial decisions because of anxiety. It's very prudent to check your investment accounts and bank accounts, your credit card statements on a regular basis to ensure that there's no suspicious transactions in there. And I like to tell a story when we're on the road. I didn't get a chance today, but I remember I, on a regular basis, check my bank account to make sure everything's okay. And one day I was checking my online banking profile and I saw that there was a loan all of a sudden popped up in the loan section for about $1,200. And I said, "Did you get a loan?" She goes, "Of course not." And then she says, "You better call Mr. Fraud Guy." That's me. And so I called the bank and had a discussion with somebody online, and they said, "Do you have a car loan?" I went, "Well, I do have a car loan, but it's not with you." And after some talk, we realized that the bank had bought a block of car loans from another financing organization, so that my car loan was now with my bank. But the moral of the story is occasionally go in there, look at the transactions. If there's something you don't recognize, then you call. We don't want people to make huge financial decisions because of anxiety, because of the things that are obviously going on. But you're right, Rihanna, it's basis to check your accounts to make sure that there's no funny business going on, and that if you do see something that you're not sure about, you call the bank or the finance company, whoever it is, immediately to get the process going to deal with that.
I just had another comment just in the chat box that, so if someone received an email saying that they have they had their password, do they really have access to their information for real? And what should they have done?
We get there's a lot of this stuff going on. I get it on my my phones, like on a regular basis. Like I didn't know I had bank accounts with some of these banks, and I don't. So there's a lot of kind of phishing going on out there. It's really important that people immediately delete those things. And if you're concerned about a PIN number that you have for an account or something like that, that you go in yourself to whatever that platform is. And if you feel uncomfortable with the way things are, that you change it yourselves. There's a lot of these types of messages going on out there. I like to laugh because I have two phones. I'm showing them to you. One is mine, one is a government phone. And I get these phishing emails and texts on both phones. So there is a lot of this stuff going on. Delete those texts right away, because the minute you get into a conversation with them, you have no idea what they're trying to do. So make sure that you ditch those types of messages. The bank isn't going to do that to you. And if you feel uncomfortable with your PIN, that you go in through the normal way and make a change to that PIN, or go into the bank or something like that. Maybe tell the bank that this is going on. But that's a great question. And especially right now, I'm seeing a lot more emails and texts on my phones. It's amazing what people want from me or want to sell me. So it's a good, timely question. Thank you for that.
And we just had a question from someone just saying if they were, if it's okay for using some of your talking points and workshops to seniors in their community center that serves seniors with language barriers, which organizations to refer to, and where to sort of get some of that support services. We will be posting the webinar and the content as a PDF of PowerPoint with all the with the slide deck. So with all the information and key points that will be available, so people can access that and pass on the information. I think that is the point of a lot of our the webinars that we do, is to get that information out to our communities. So give me about a day or two to upload that onto our website, and it should be available for everyone to access. So with that, I know we're just at 2 o'clock, so I would like to thank everyone for joining us today and for your great questions. I'd like to thank Chris and Alistair, as well as Jennifer, who joined us to provide our ASL interpretive services to our participants as well today. Again, just a reminder, we will have another presentation next week on powers of attorney. If you're not on our mailing list, again, you can join on our website. There's a pop-up menu that if you want to join, and there was also a question when you registered, and we will send those materials out to you. So thank you again for joining us. If you have any other questions, you can email me at Elder Abuse Prevention Ontario. My email is at partnerships at eapon and .ca. And I can answer those, or you can give us a phone call and we'll try our best to respond. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Stay safe and well.
Thanks, Rhiannon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Jennifer.
Red.
Bye.